says go. It says we're live. All right. Okay, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. It should take just a second. And Phil, can you say something real quick?
Yeah, I think that should hear me because it's coming through your end anyway.
Perfect. Yeah. Just want to make sure that my thing wasn't muted. All right, everybody. So I've got Phil Best, the best Phil that I know. And we're going to be going over the VTT stuff. Well, Phil is, and I'm going to ask them questions. You should see in the description of this video, if you would like to help support the development of the Foundry thing, then you will find links there. And I'm going to put it in the chat as well. There's the first one, and there's the second one. So Phil has been paid for this, but I think not nearly enough, just the time that he's put into this. So if you guys would like to help contribute to the continued development of the Foundry work and some of the other cool things that we're working on that we may or may not talk about today, please check out the Tippy and Coffee links for Phil. Don't tell me I'm muted, you guys. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, Phil, you wanna take it away and walk us through? Feel free to start wherever you like.
Yeah, sure. I think we should probably do the Foundry stuff then. Just give me a sec.
Perfect. And like we just set this up like as we were going live, so if expect something to not quite work. All right, I'm gonna click watch stream. Okay. All right, so I can see your
Okay.
Discord. All right.
Let me do that again.
All right, we'll try that again. They keep moving like where the share screen button is and what it's called.
Is
There
that
we
it?
go.
That
Okay,
better?
yeah, we can see it now.
Cool, cool, cool.
All right, and I'm
Okay, so I
gonna.
think the first thing we should do is probably character creation stuff. By the way, I apologize for my voice. I've been coughing like crazy for hours, and it may give out at any moment. So
Phil, you could just type and I'll read it to everybody and I'll be your voiceover guy.
appreciate it. Cool. So first things, create actor, and we have different actor types for the system. Player is obviously one, this one, but you have three different types of monster as well. So like legendary monsters, regular monsters, and minions. So flunkies would just come under regular monsters as well. But these all just create a character sheet, so it's straight away. But the player side is much more involved. You get a character creation wizard. So you can enter a character name at the top. Don't need to though, it's optional. And then you've got all of the classes first, with a little description, the class complexity stuff, some nice art, all that good stuff. So we're going to cheat. And then you get all the ancestries. They're split up into core and exotic, and you can add your own ancestries. I'll show you how to do that actually in a bit. But these all have a little hover description, which shows you the features they get, a little description of what they are. And the exotic ancestries have a little marker here, which tells you, if you're going to pick one of these, probably talk to your GM first. So let's make a
Nice.
halfling. That's pretty classic. And then you're prompted to pick a background.
Well, we've got to
So,
name him Bilbo.
oh, sure, yeah.
There we go. Perfect. Now we're cooking.
So, is Bilbo Bumblewise or I don't know.
He might be a survivalist or fearless. I don't know. Pick whichever one you want.
Let's go for survivalist then. So
Sure.
we've got a cheat halfling survivalist. And then you get to pick a stat array. So we'll go for standard this time. Go for dexterity. Bilbo is not very strong. Good willpower though. And so you can do this. You can swap them around as well if you want to. And then once you're done, you just confirm the stat selection. At every stage as well, you're getting a little tooltip which will guide you through character creation. So although it's like it will do things like block out points you can no longer spend, it's going to give you some run instruction as well. So not arcana though. A lot of finesse, well actually a little bit of finesse, bit of stealth, and he notices a lot of
Yeah.
things going on.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
yeah,
I really like
that
how
sounds like a good plan.
the stats are already included there, and then the 4 points that you get, they're just extra. And like, yeah, the cheat, even if you're cheat, you can't cheat with your skill points. So love it.
Yeah, yeah. If you're like a human, for example, as well, it would also show the +1 for all of your your extra +1 skill point in every
Yep.
skill.
Yep.
So it will do those kind of bonuses here as well. So you actually get like an actual summary of what your final bonus will be when you're calculating all this out. Once you're done, you can confirm it. If you decide at any point that you don't like your selection, you can go back to any of these fields and you can re-edit
Mhm.
them. So we can go back even to like the array, and we can say, actually, do you know what? I want a balanced array instead. And then we can just go and do the whole thing again. Um, and our skill points are going to stay where they are, but the modifiers should now all be different based on our
Yep.
new selections.
Oh,
But
because
now
he's
we have +1
smart.
intelligence.
Yeah.
We get an extra language. What will it be? I guess he spends a lot of time around dwarves, doesn't he? So
Yeah.
we'll confirm the bonus language selection. And so now his selected bonus languages are common and dwarvish. And then that's it.
Nice.
Create character. And everything is there. So we've got all of our skills set up. We've got all his stats. His initiative was automatically calculated. His armor was automatically calculated. Um, the saving throw advantage, disadvantage was taken from the class document. And then, yeah, the rest of it is filled in. Some of these things are not going to be filled in because the classes included in this compendium that I'm loaded, that's not ones that people have been working on filling in stuff in. So
Hmm.
not everything is configured. Yeah, basically that's character creation. But if you didn't want to go through all that, you can actually just quit at any time. So you can just say, create me a character right now, and you've got a new actor with nothing. And then what you could do instead, like you've got your features and so on. If we went and got a class, so like let's say we wanted to make another cheat, you can just
Oh,
drop a cheat in and it will do the levels for you and stuff. The same for like if you wanted to pick like a bird folk, you can just put that in and it will pick out everything for you. You don't have to go through the character creation if that's a bit tedious for you, but I
nice.
think it should be pretty fine. And then yeah, you can modify all these things manually as well. So if you go through character creation and realize that actually you've made a mistake or something didn't work properly, you can make manual modifications. It's going to do it all for you. The same for skills. You can do all that with skills. So you can add your skill points here, remove them, and it gives you totals, where your bonuses are coming from, ability modifiers, stuff. This guy hasn't got any ability scores, so yeah, they're not working. And here, because we've got zeros for everything, that's not a valid array in Nimble. That may be what you want. Maybe you're doing a game where you're doing like really super low powered characters, but if it was an accident, it's going to give you a warning so that you're not just, nerfing a character for no reason
Mhm.
or making someone who's just way too powerful.
Maybe you're doing like a level 0 funnel, and you've got like 12 different boys, and they all have 1 hit point or something.
Yeah, exactly right.
Nice.
So yeah, it will completely support that. It's just yeah, if that's not intentional, like say if I only had like 1 dexterity, um, that's a mistake, right? I didn't mean to do that. I just misclicked or something. It's saying,
Mhm.
hey, wait, you haven't got all the stats you need. This is not a valid array. And so you'll get a warning. Once we correct it, it goes away, and then that's that.
Very cool.
The bonuses there are going to be auto-generated. There should be another line in here, it's not showing, where you can like manually enter bonuses as well. These are the ones which are automatically calculated from, say, your class or your ancestry, your background, whatever it might be, where you're getting some special benefit. A boon, for example, might do this. It's going to show here, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much player characters.
So, Photopop asks, will there be a visual indicator for the class's key stats?
Yes. Yes, there should be. Yeah, there should be like a little marker next to these, but I haven't put that in yet. There,
Okay.
there really does need to be a way to mark their key stats.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But you could always find them in the class as well. Like it will tell you in this stuff once the uh once the like data has been entered for all these documents, like it will give you stuff in these little summaries. Like
Perfect.
the bird folk here is quite filled out, so it's got like a lot of stuff in there, and it's got like it's an exotic ancestry. It shows you what size categories are valid. Um, but the cheat is pretty much just a description. So
Okay. Cool. Maia are able to enter homebrew subclass details? I believe so, right? You can sort of put in
yes,
anything,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yep.
actually, it's probably easy if we do it over here. So like we can make a new companion pack. Actually, not in there. So let's make a new compendium, and we'll just say like Homebrew, like ancestries or something, right? And that's going to be a document type of item. Like everything which is not an actor basically in Foundry is going to be an item. That's like technical, but yeah, it's going to be a compendium of items, things you can put on an actor.
Gotcha.
And so we've got this new Homebrew ancestries here. So if we were to make like a new ancestry, um, and we could say like, I don't know, what's a custom
Popsicle.
ancestry we don't have yet?
Popsicle. Yeah.
Popsicle.
Popsicloids. Yep.
Popsicloids.
Popsicloids. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So we got popsicloids, and we could pick art and stuff for them if we really want to. I need to do it right now. But then we have our homebrew ancestries. We can put popsicloids in there. Actually, that went in twice for some reason. That may have been a Foundry bug. We'll look into that. And then actually it should show up when we try and make a new character.
Let's see.
Ooh, not working.
So they're vulnerable to fire
One of these.
damage, and anything that bites them deals twice as much.
Yeah, I think there were two in it. One of those is not valid. I'm not sure why that's not working. Okay, so I can't show you this right now because that's not working. But
Yeah, no,
whatever that
that's
second document Foundry put in there, that's killing stuff. So I need to look into that. But basically, you will be able to just drop ancestries in there, and then they will become part of the list. So yeah, you can load these in from like a module where like if a book comes out where there's some new stuff, like I don't know, in the future maybe there's like a second player's handbook and a second hero's book rather. There might be new stuff in there, like new ancestries, new classes, and those will just be put in a different pack, and the system will search all of your packs looking for things like ancestries, backgrounds, classes, all that kind of stuff, and it will populate the character creation wizard with those entries.
cool. So would that be like essentially like a zip file or something you just like download and upload into here?
So that is one way to do it.
Okay.
Like free modules tend to do that because there's like no costs involved.
Mhm.
More premium stuff, it'll just be searchable within Foundry. So it'll be installed just like anyone who's using Foundry is going to be familiar with installing a module.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just one of those, just a content module. We'll read the stuff out of the content module, no problem.
Cool. Yes, I believe so. It works for subclasses as well. Like when someone reaches level 3, they get new features. I believe so. Like
Yeah, that's right.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, Phil. So I don't know much about Foundry, but I do know that Phil has set this thing up to be very easy to edit and change and basically make anything you want.
So basically, you have a parent class marker inside a subclass, and every single class has like a unique identifier. So there's an identifier for a berserker, which is literally just lowercase berserker. But if it was like a two-named class, it would have two names. Like the cheat would be two words. These should be unique, so pay attention. They don't have to be whatever the class name is as well. You can put a completely custom name if there's a conflict. Like if you want to release like an alternative berserker or whatever, and you could just put alt berserker as its identifier.
Okay.
But then basically you can list which classes the subclass belongs to. So we could make a like a Path of the Juggernaut thing, and then you would be able to say berserker. And then if you had a berserker character, when you get to level 3 and it's like pick a subclass, it would have this option there to select as well as whatever else is in the game.
Nice. And Maia is sending you some money, Phil. So that was a great answer. Thank you, Maia. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so that was
Yeah,
classes.
so that's classes. Yeah, I guess we should probably set up a feature as well, like an actual an attack of some kind. Or we could do it as a spell. Actually, a spell would be kind of cool. So you have description fields, nothing special here. It's just rich text. And again, all the documents have identifiers. So this is like a hook system. So that you can like reference a specific spell, right? So you can give an identifier to a specific spell for if you have a feature which interacts with something like very specific. Like if you had a feature which makes Spark better, for example, then you could reference that feature specifically in some code, and that would let you do things. Yeah, so that's what that is. You have all these different pieces. Some of these will open up new configuration options. So if you click range, you've got lower and upper. I'm considering getting rid of one of these for spells because this is just a generic component being reused throughout the system. And obviously weapons can have like lower and upper bounds on their range.
Hmm.
Spells don't, and I think this is kind of confusing. Um, but I don't know. I don't think it's a huge deal. Anyway, so yeah, when you click on these, some of them will open up new things. Some of them will get rid of them. So if you're a utility spell, then there's no tier anymore. You don't have a tier, so there's no need to have that configuration there. Um, and yeah, you can change the thing. I think feels like it's in dark mode, which is making the text go white. But you can change the spell school. And actually, you see the spell we've created. It's going to change the icon like live on the one that
Nice.
you're making. And there's a cool thing actually if we have multiple spells. So that one's done. That's a completed spell. Um, and we'll do a lightning spell, not a lightning spell, an ice spell. And because now we have more than one spell school, we have the option to filter our list down. So if we say this is the ice spell, so the ice spell is in our ice category, the lightning spell is in the other one. But we can go and view all of them together, and they're organized by level, or the cantrips and utility spells are grouped together because they're very similar.
Hmm.
Um, but everything else will be grouped by tier, and then you can go and look at these individually if you have more than one spell school. So if you don't, then this kind of interface is worthless. So we just do away with it and make
Hmm.
it a bit cleaner. Anyway, so back to our lightning
Cent
spell.
Centric is asking if we can add new spell schools.
Yes, you can. It's not as straightforward as adding new like ancestries and stuff, which
Hmm.
it feels kind of backwards because adding a spell school seems really simple, but um, they're just, it's a big object of strings basically. There's just words. So
Gotcha.
I don't have a good way, to help you make those. You'd have to go and modify the configuration files of the system. It's not very
Okay.
complicated. Like it's like first hour of learning JavaScript stuff. But it is going to be some code,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay.
But there is something I can maybe do about that. But just right now, you'd have to modify it that way.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, we want it to be playable and reasonably bug free for everybody to start using, and then in time and with added support, we can add all sorts of features and do cool stuff. But as I'm sure Phil could tell you, all of this takes a lot of time. All of this takes a lot of time. Uh, but Phil Double King says every time I think, oh, it would be cool if Phil has already done it. So yeah, absolutely.
Good to hear. Um, Cool. So we got onto the next tab. So we've gone through less sort of basic configuration. The different document types, like weapons or like just objects, and things like class features, like they all have a slightly different general configuration thing. The spell one is by far the most complicated because it has, all these different bits that spells take up.
Okay.
But the rest of this is going to be pretty much the same. So for activation, you've got some general things like, how many actions does it cost? And you'll get some little notifier here on the spell as well, just a little preview. So
Hmm.
some data is going to end up down here just as a quick reference. You can mark it as a reaction. You can set a duration for the thing. You can say target, so you can say like acquire targets from a template. And then you'll be able to define what the template is. So it's a
Ooh,
circle, it's a radius of 1 square, and you can put down some just plain text description of like what limitations there are on targets. So you might say like allies only, or like this only targets fiends, something like that.
nice.
And that will be available to you, in the output. The main thing though is this effects tab. So the sheet gets a bit wider because this config it ends up trailing off to the right a little bit. This is going to be quite different from, I think, anything in Foundry right now. I've certainly never used a system which has an interface like this for setting up how an effect works. So effects are basically the consequences of using an ability. So we can create a new effect and we can say, okay, it's got a damage roll. And we got all this stuff auto-populated for us. So we're saying it's a damage roll, it can miss, it can crit. And we can write a formula. So we can say like 1d8 damage. And this one is doing acid damage. So that's fine. Actually, weird for a lightning spell. Probably does lightning
Yeah,
damage.
acid lightning. Yep.
Yeah, acid lightning. And then on a hit, it's doing full damage. So nothing weird right now. This is all like perfectly normal. But basically, we can add extra effects for any outcome here. So we can say on a critical hit, we'd like you to make a saving throw. I'd like you to make a dexterity saving throw. It's going to use a standard DC. And then I would like, on a failed save, to apply a condition. And that condition is, I don't know, stunned, maybe. So
Oh,
if you're not quick enough to get out of the way of my lightning, stunned.
nasty.
Um, yeah. And on a miss, you can do something as well. So you could add a note, for example, which like a reminder, and say like it's a lightning spell, so we're saying like you hit yourself.
Hmm.
And this will output only if the attack misses. So basically we have this sort of flow chart almost of consequences, and it goes, as deep as you want it to go, really. And you can add new top level effects. We've got a damage roll, but you can have, say, always have a saving throw. No matter what the result is, there's always going to be a saving throw as well.
Yeah.
So I think this is, reasonably easy to understand. Like it sort of makes logical sense, at least to me, that, you just sort of follow the path through,
Yeah.
and, you read what's going to happen. And then we can just use the ability.
Oh, look how
7.
easy.
So here,
7
7
lightning
lightning
damage.
damage. Um, but if we can get it to crit or miss or something, here you go. So
There it
miss.
is. Oh, you hit
Um,
yourself.
so it doesn't bother showing the things for the hit because you didn't. So yeah, it's going to say you hit yourself. End of story. And you could have, um, like you could also show damage on this roll. We didn't set it up that way, but you could have it so it's like you hit yourself and then show how much damage you took.
Hmm.
Um, and on the crit as well, we should get something so we can keep rolling this until we get a crit.
Yeah,
When I was
I
showing
was
Evan, we
I
we
was
had this
trying to do this
goblin.
earlier and I only rolled crits. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we had this goblin, and it was just a regular old goblin, and it was just annihilating the heroes.
Yeah.
It rolled crit after crit after crit.
Yeah,
So
so that
pretty good damage
works.
there, so 15 damage. And then on a failed save, stunned. And if you click on this, you can apply it to a character, basically.
How cool.
So yeah,
Yeah, so I think
that's
that answers your question, Centuric. What about conditions? Does it require tweaking? No, no. So yeah, you can add conditions automatically, just like this. And Photopop is asking, for all homebrew monsters, item spells, things, will there be an export-import method that can allow people to easily share pre-made files with others and import them into their system?
Uh, yeah, absolutely. Foundry actually already has this. We don't have to do anything for it. So if you right click on an actor or like an item, whatever you want to do, if you click export data, you're going to get this like JSON file comes out basically.
Nice.
Um, and that will just be that one document. Also, you can do import data, and you can just select a JSON document, and it will
Okay.
import it
Custom
back in.
custom
Yeah.
conditions. I believe that's the same thing, right? Adding custom conditions.
Same thing as for custom spell schools, basically. It's possible, but you need to do a little bit of very light fiddling with the code.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, very cool. Could we? So I tried to show how, like, the little combat tracker thing on the bottom and the thing on the left side. I tried to show how that worked, but I
Yeah.
couldn't. Do you want to show us real quick?
Yeah. So we'll get a couple of people out here. So um, basically, when you're trying to like start a combat, it's the same deal as normal in Foundry. So you've got this toggle combat state to choose who the combatants are. So I've selected everyone here, and I do that, and I end up with this on the outside. So the goblins, they're NPCs. They don't have initiative. We don't care about them. Um, so, oops, there's live demos, man.
Yeah, you
Anyway,
never
so
try to
we could
type anything live, and you never try to do math in your head live,
never.
because yeah, it always goes wrong.
You not go. There you go. Why did you not go there? Um, yeah. So basically, they don't have initiative, but Bilbo, he does. He's got this roll initiative button, and he rolled a 17.
Ooh, nice.
So
So 19. Yep.
no nice card for initiative yet. We just didn't need one, but there will be one which will show you, the action result. Oh, very close to getting 3 actions though. But he got 2 actions, so he's got 2 little pips on the bottom of his card, and we can start combat. If we end his turn though, so now we're on the goblin's turn. He's highlighted in orange. Bilbo's actions went back up to 3 because his turn is finished, so his actions reset.
Mhm.
Um, and the same thing would happen, say, like if we did all this, but then we skip to the next round and skip a round again. So now it's
Mhm.
gone to Bilbo's turn, And then again, so it took into account that we've gone past Bilbo's turn. So
So
his actions
for
will reset.
in case there's anybody else like me who doesn't know Foundry very well, could you just like show us how to move Bilbo and then like make an attack against a goblin, for instance?
And everyone's
Oh,
selected
oh
there.
yeah,
Everyone's running at the same time. Um,
the goblins are scared of him.
um, yeah. So Bilbo actually doesn't have any weapons, does he? That seems appropriate.
Yeah, let's give him a frying pan or
Um,
something.
yeah. Sorry, I coughed with the microphone on there. Yeah, so we can, I guess, do it the other way around because I think you set up some stab actions on these goblins, right? Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll do it the other way around. Bilbo's getting
Okay.
checked. Um, so there's a few ways you can do it. So we can set the target like this. We can use T as a short. Yeah, do that instead of like opening this interface. There's no need to do that every time. But basically, we can just click on the actions for the goblin and it will do this. So the target here is Bilbo. And yeah, we've got 6 slashing damage. There's some cool things we can do with that in a minute, but let's like untarget Bilbo. Say we forgot to do it, and let's do a stab. So there's no target selected right now, but I can click on Bilbo and select him, and then I can say add selected targets, and then Bilbo is now a target. Or if I actually have him, then we can say add targets to this list as well. So you can do like post hoc additions to this target array, and this will allow you to do like shortcut things for applying damage and conditions and so on if the targets are there. But I know that like a lot of groups just don't use the target thing. So this is like a way for them to do it if they forget, basically.
Nice. Okay,
No
so
requirements to it either. You can just avoid it.
he's taking 5 damage. So will that automatically show up on his character sheet, or do we need to like just type in 5 or something?
It won't happen automatically.
Okay.
But we have some things here. So this is an unfinished interface, but this is basically the tool which will be used to manage all kinds of stuff. So actually, this is quite an old one. There's actually new fields on here in the version I've got locally. But basically, it's going to list all the targets. So like, let's say we had this goblin over here. There's some friendly fire involved. So we've got 2 targets. So the second target came up. And because nobody has any armor or anything, 5 damage is just 5 damage, right? But if they had armor, so like let's open this goblin and give him some armor. Oh, wrong one. He's the one attacking. This should change it. So he's got medium armor now,
Ooh,
which
nice.
means he's taken half. That's right, isn't it? Or is it no
Uh,
modifiers? I can't remember.
yeah, just that. So you rolled a 3, so he's taking just 3.
That's right. Yeah. So just dice. Yeah. So he's taking just dice. If you hover over it, it tells you exactly what it does. I should have just done that in the first place.
How cool.
And then we can upgrade him to heavy armor. He came absolutely stacked for this fight.
Yep.
And then he's going to take no modifiers, half the dice,
Yep.
rounded up. So he takes 2 damage.
Very
So this
cool.
will do all the calculations for you. It will also take into account things like resistances or vulnerabilities, and it will give you a total. And the idea here is that you're going to have a couple of buttons which are going to be like at the bottom for just everything is correct, apply everything right away. And then there's also going to be some options for like tweaking. So like say there is a condition like my sword does it treats fiends as vulnerable to 9 damage or something like that. Something kind of complicated that is really hard to automate. You can modify this damage before applying it, or you can just choose to do it manually, right? You can just say, don't bother doing this target.
Right.
That's the idea. So there'll be some buttons here which you'll be able to just say, apply this, and then a button at the bottom for like a bulk apply everything.
Cool.
And this is the intention, like how you will manage most of the stuff, at least when there's multiple targets, because you drop a fireball on like 15 guys, you don't want to be doing like all that stuff manually.
Yep.
So there's going to be like a saving throw button. You can just press that and have everyone roll their saving throws, and then everyone will then like have the damage calculated for you based on what they rolled, their resistances, armor, all that good stuff, and then you can just click apply everything, and that will be the idea.
So Double King's asking, is the plan to have the apply damage button on the chat card, or do we need to open up this separate window?
Both.
Both. All right, cool.
Yeah, so on the chat card, it will work on selected targets only because, um, this is also usable by the players for like managing stuff on their own characters.
Mhm,
And because of the way that like permissions work, you can't have a player like deal damage to a token they don't own.
mhm.
So it's just much easier to do that kind of thing on selected targets rather than like targets. Otherwise, you have to like route everything through the GM
Yeah.
because they have permissions to do everything.
So if I
So
was playing Bilbo and the goblin attacked me for 5 damage, let's say I had like leather armor. I have like some amount of armor. How would I choose to like defend or not? Let's say.
I don't know if he's got a defend action on his thing. So he doesn't have the thing on there, and I haven't got the icon
Okay,
in
so
the initiative tracker here. But basically,
okay.
there's a shield in this corner, and you can just press that, and it's
Okay,
like there is a defend, there's an interpose action as well, and
nice.
so you can press these buttons, and it will just do that stuff for you.
So like when a hero is like set up fully, you just push the little defend button. Say you're taking 10 damage, you have 5 armor, it'll just say you're taking 5 instead if you hit that little button.
That's right, yeah. And
Ah,
also, if that's something like maybe
nice.
it's the player's not there or whatever, that's
Uh-huh.
something you'll be able to modify on this little section as well. Like you just say,
Okay.
he's forgotten his armor, and then yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah,
All right.
so that's basically the combat stuff. The rest of it's pretty simple. It's just sort of manually toggling these pips. Um, there is like a possibility for that to be automated, but that's just not going to be part of the core system. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's just a lot of variability in how actions are spent. There's a lot of abilities that say this is cheaper because of this condition, and it's very, very difficult to
Yeah.
automate all that. But if someone wants to do it, it's possible. And the
Mhm.
idea is that you know the uh, the kind of tree format we have for the conditions and the effects of an attack, it should be possible to automate just about everything because
Mhm.
we know what happened and what should happen when that thing happened, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So for people who, so yeah, we're not releasing this just yet. There's a little bit of cooking that needs to be done still, but just to head off the questions that I know are going to come, how will people be able to get this? I mean, I'll have a link on the website, but is this going to be through the Foundry website or store or something?
Yeah, so it'll be within their Foundry apps. So it's just going to be
Okay.
installed like every other package they have. They're going to be able to search the system like package list,
Hmm.
and then you'll just be able to search for Nimble, and it'll be in there. There'll also be the option of using something called a manifest link. So this is just like a URL that points to a JSON document, and it just has like a lot of metadata about the system, including where to download the files. Foundry knows how to use those, so you can just share a link to that, and
Okay.
it will work as well.
Okay. Cool. All right. Does anybody else have any thoughts or questions for Phil? And Phil, is there anything else, like any other major system or thing that you want to show off?
There's one other thing.
Okay.
So we have this little dock at the bottom. I'm gonna get rid of this one because we don't need it. Um, so we have this like little dock for storing like cards. Um, so instead of having like a goblin sheet open like this and then like minimizing it and having it just over your map, you can use this interface at the bottom instead, where you can do a lot more than with that card. So like if we open up this goblin's hood, um, actually the wrong goblin, isn't it? This one. We can modify his hit points. So I
Mm-hmm.
had my push talk key down, and it stopped me interacting. So this will live change the things over there. And it will give you a summary. You'll be able to see if they're bloodied. So you get this little heart icon, gets a crack in it. The hit point bar goes red. Um, all that good stuff. So this is like just a summary that shows you what's happening. But you can also expand this card, and you can make this one the focus. So this is a full character sheet. You can do whatever you want with this. You
Hmm.
can modify things. Like you can open the configuration if you've made a mistake when setting this character up. Like
Secretly
actually,
double
this
his hit
guy's
points while nobody's
yeah,
looking.
exactly right. Yeah, I mean, not that anyone does that. Yeah, it's like, oh no, this heavy armor is not working out. Just drop it down to medium. But also you can roll attacks and things from here. Like it's just a normal character sheet. Like these
Uh-huh.
goblins, man, that's a double.
Oh, brutal.
These goblins are awful. Yeah, so you can just make changes. You can add features, and these will all be reflected back on the original document. Um,
Nice.
because yeah, this is all linked together. And then once you're done with this guy's turn, you can do that. If he's dead, you can delete him.
Just throw him in the
Whatever
trash.
you just get rid of him.
Yeah,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so that's one little thing I've come up with to solve this issue of having like, you got 5 different types of enemies and you've got these 5 collapse sheets where you've got to double click to
Yep.
open and stuff. And it's kind of annoying, and you don't get any information, right? Unless you actually have, you can make this HUD there all the time, so you can see like their hit points, but it doesn't show you their armor, and it doesn't show you
Yeah.
like their temp hit points and all that kind of stuff.
It
So,
starts getting
um,
cluttered too. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So this is just a slightly better way
That's
to
cool.
handle all that stuff.
So we do have a few questions if you have a bit more time, Phil. Um,
Yep.
will it be compatible with the upcoming Foundry update?
This version, no, but yes, there will be an update for V13.
Okay.
So I anticipate a lot of people are going to be on V12 for a while. Like V13 has got quite a few breaking changes, and so there's going to be some modules that people want that are not going to be updated, and there's going to be people stuck there. So I want to get a version out for V12 so that
Yeah.
people can continue to use it without updating, and then the V13 update will be the one that we just continue focusing on. So
Yeah.
once it's in a good place, we won't support V12 anymore. You'll just be stuck on that version, and then V13 will continue to get development.
Yeah, with software, it's generally a good idea to let it mature a little bit before spending too much dev time on brand new versions with bugs and things.
Yeah.
So someone wanted to see Jim Danu. Can you show how to level up a hero? And then there's a question about how to make like skill checks and saves and rest and stuff.
Oh, skill checks and saves and stuff. You click on them,
Okay.
and it will have the
Ooh,
that was pretty good.
Bilbo
Bilbo.
strong.
So yeah, it will select automatically like which base soul amount you have. If you have
Uh-huh.
conditions, it will also modify this. So we can
Okay.
say like, oh, disadvantage 6. He's just like on his last legs, and yeah, that was
Yeah. Pretty
terrible.
rough. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, so that's basically how all that works. Same for skills. You just open them and you can roll them. Um, Yeah, so that's that. That's nice and easy. There's also rests as well. So like if you take like a safe rest, like that will trigger a thing to update all of your stuff. So I clicked that. There will be some chat output, which will
Yeah.
make it clear that you
Yeah.
did click it.
Go and
Um,
put some wounds on this guy. Yeah, there you go. So one safe
yeah.
rest
So
should remove one of them, right?
oh, I don't know if that button's working, but anyway, yes. That
Okay.
should happen. So the safe rest
Okay.
will
Nice.
decrement these some amount. Yeah. There's also
Oh,
some settings as well, I should probably mention as well. So, because the wounds reminded me, there are ways to like add more wounds,
right.
and like inventory slots as well. So, like we've got 12 now because I just added some
Okay.
extra on there. Oh, also, I know some people want to use passive skills. They're not in Nimble. That doesn't exist as a thing, but I know some people were talking about using them as a homebrew rule. You can enable that. It's off by default, but you'll be able to get all of these
Mhm.
passive scores if you turn that setting on.
Cool. And how about leveling up? Someone asked about that.
So you press the level up button
Oh,
over
there you go.
here,
There's a just push the
and
level up button.
you'll get a little thing which will ask you to do all this stuff. So because this class doesn't have any like abilities tied to it, there isn't like a summary of the abilities you're going to get. That data isn't entered on this one, but yeah, we can modify skill points. So we can take one off. It tells you what you changed, so -1 here, and then we can add the 2 there. But we can't take another one off. That's not allowed because you're only allowed to
Mhm.
swap one skill point on level up.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if we didn't take one off, then I can't take any except off of these ones that already have points. So
Gotcha.
yeah, that's leveling up, and then you submit it, and it updates you. We chose to roll our hit points, so it rolled our hit points for us.
Okay.
We got a 5, and so yeah, Bilbo now has 15 hit points, 2 hit dice, all that good
Very
stuff, and
cool.
our skill points updated as well. Yeah, and we should
Awesome.
have all that good stuff there. And then again, you can come back and change them and say, actually, do you know what? I made a mistake. I want to be more finesse than stealth, and then that's fine.
Okay. Without committing you to anything, Phil, but I know people are going to ask when they can get their hot little hands on it, at least like an alpha or beta version. There's a lot of people eager to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, basically, you've already seen here the stuff that isn't finished, like that little interface for dealing with targets. That's an issue. That's even on my local version. That's not much further along than that.
Okay.
But the big issue right now is basically um, to do with like scaling damage and also something to do with like tying saving throws back to the cards. I've had some like technical problems with that, which are kind of tricky. Um, but I mean, it shouldn't take too long. I know it's really difficult to, yeah, certainly I think in the next week or so.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know what's going to happen in my personal life at the moment. So
Yeah. Life is tricky sometimes, but everything if everything goes smoothly, knock on wood, it's weeks, not months is probably
oh,
the
certainly,
best
yeah, we're not
estimate.
talking
Okay.
months. Yeah,
Okay.
'cause I want to get this into people's hands so they can break it, basically. Like, just
Yeah.
find things that don't work right.
Yeah.
Because I can do all this testing, but like I haven't done a safe rest on a character for months. Like, why would I need to do that? And clearly
Yeah.
something is broken, so these wounds are not decrementing properly.
Right.
Um, yeah. Oh, by the way, it does show you wounds there. It's not very clear on this one because the character's like art
Yeah,
is obscuring it.
the little icon.
Um, yeah, but yeah, it does tell you your wounds, and also on the character sheet, it will also do the bloody thing where it does a
Yeah.
crack on your heart and stuff.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there are things here that are not working
Mhm.
as intended, and people will find them much better than I will because they're going to actually use it in a real scenario. So
Oh man, people found like I think literally thousands of typos and errors and stuff in the initial drafts of the books, in after they'd already been proofread. So yeah, absolutely. Um,
yeah, I mean, yeah, we do a lot of work with like A5E, like independent publishers,
yep.
and man, like their stuff gets put through like a balance reviewer, an editor, and then it comes to our guys who are like doing data entry for the module, and we come back with like several A4 sheets of corrections, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel so bad.
Did you even test this? Like, no, I did. All right. I think there might be a couple more questions. Does the system contain a bestiary of some kind built in? I think so. Not currently, but
We haven't got well, people are entering data for that right now, so yes, it will, but this one doesn't, I don't believe. Whoops. Um,
okay. And then Phil and I are working on something else that may help with some of that stuff, so that everybody doesn't just have to enter data manually. But I don't think we're quite ready to announce anything on that yet. Um,
are we going to show off the thing or not?
if you're ready to show it off,
I can show something off, yeah.
okay. Um, so so I'll go ahead and I'll so if you guys are familiar at all with Pathfinder or like the what was it called, Archives of Nethys, or with 5e, there's different websites that have like the archive of all the rules and the spells and monsters and everything. So we're going to be doing something like that for Nimble. We're not sure what it's going to be called yet, but it's going to be like a database of pretty much everything. And there's not going to be, at least there's not planned on any login or anything like that. It's going to be for people who have purchased it, or people who are supporting on Patreon, or if you just want to test it out, you can feel free to see the rules and test everything out for free. If you want to see if you or your table like it, or if you just can't afford it. A lot of people live in countries, or their situation in life is just they just can't afford things. So it's going to it's for people who have paid for it, uh, but we want to give it away to people who, again, want to test it out or who simply can't afford it. Um, but we really just want to sort of like build the community and give away as much stuff as we can to allow everybody, as many people as possible, to have fun with the system. Um, so yeah, this go ahead, Phil. You wanna take it away? Show off some of the stuff that you've been working on.
Yeah, sure. So character builder is currently locked away. You can't click on that. But the reference tool is actually pretty far along now.
Mhm.
So we can click on the reference. This push to talk button is killing me. So yeah, these are all the different categories we have where you can look up information. So we have all these different ancestries. You click on one, you get all the information. You get some summary information like we were doing in Foundry. Um, and yeah, all this is just online. Actually, that URL will work. But this is an incomplete site. There's going to be various things you can't access. For example, monsters. Monsters don't have any data, so it's going to load forever. But classes, we do have class information where you can peruse a berserker, for example, all their initial sort of like, their basic data. A lot of these don't have any features implemented yet, but this is sort of, yeah, going to continue yeah, being populated essentially. And you'll be able to access subclasses and so on from here. Like everything in the game is basically in this section.
Mhm.
And it's got, yeah, very similar formatting to the book a lot of places, but yeah, you get all of this info.
Yeah.
Did it again.
Push to talk. Yeah, so I'm really excited about it. I think anything like this that can sort of help build a community, make it easier to GM, make it easier to play, I think is a good thing. So we're sort of counting on everybody to continue supporting the project. Otherwise, everything will just die.
Yeah. And there's some
uh,
community things up here as well. So,
yep.
if people want to support on Patreon, there is a Patreon link. There's a link to the Discord server if people want to come hang out. Um, there will be filtering for all this stuff as well. Right now, it just has like a fuzzy search. So, it will find like the best matching result and it will find like, typos and stuff. So, like if you spelt, I don't know, like accidental wrong, it should still find the result. Um, yeah, so this is going to get built out. There's going to be also links to the books once they're purchasable. I have all the source information for all these different things. So if something's on Patreon, for example, it should be able to take you to a specific post for where it came from. Um, and these are all from like obviously core books, so you'll be able to link to specific core books. If you decide, you know what, this is awesome, I really like this, where can I get it? It will link you straight to the store page and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's just sort of a convenience thing, but should also help, yeah, direct people to where to get the stuff.
Yeah. And then am I correct that the data here will assist in filling out some of the data that's on the VTT thing, or are those two separate things?
Those are two different things that they're
Okay.
not really gonna, yeah, because it would only be useful for Foundry anyway,
Hmm.
or another specific VTT. Like they'd have to be specific to those different platforms because they have different data requirements. So,
Sure.
um, but the stuff on here is like obviously not going to be accessible to everyone, but uh, basically Evan has like a little sort of CMS setup for the site where he can just go and enter like just forms. So this can be very easily maintained. Like new entries can be added super easily, and as soon as he adds new stuff, it will publish the site again. So they'll just be available immediately, or
Mhm.
whenever he chooses to publish. So yeah, this has like no technical requirements at all. It just yeah, it should be super easy to maintain and keep up to date.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, it's
Um,
also available offline. It will just work with no internet connection.
that's cool. That is very cool. Uh, would you look at that? How cool. Armin, so Phil, I don't know if you know what this means, but Armin asks, will the game system support image mapping for the bestiary, similar to modules like Pathfinder tokens or D&D tokens? I don't know what that means.
I mean, it's possible. I've actually never had to do that. Part of the problem is that I don't have any of these modules, right? So it's impossible for me to test. Um, the best I can do is sort of look at the D&D code or the Pathfinder code and then hope for the best once it's out in the wild. Because we haven't done this on A5E for exactly that reason. Like nobody who is maintaining the system has any of this stuff, and they're quite expensive. It's not we don't get paid to maintain that. It's just sort of a
Yeah.
hobby thing. So we're not dropping like $40 on a token pack just to make sure that people can get automatically updated bestiary images. Um, yeah, so it's possible if someone has that kind of thing and they're willing to help out, the system will be open source, so you can contribute with pull requests and so on if you
Mhm.
if that's something you're able to do.
Yeah. Phil, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you've been putting into it. Um,
Yeah, no worries.
yeah. So if you guys don't know, this has been many hours, and Phil's been quite busy as well, to say the least, with other things, not just this. So it feels like uh, it's been a long road. We'll just say that. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Um, Coming from Pathfinder, having a good week is really important. Yeah, absolutely. So, Phil, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you joining and showing off what's going on. I'm sure he will be available if you guys have any questions here or there on Discord. But the list of features that we can add is, there's no limit, but it depends on how much we can support the development. And so you guys, I guess, let us know what features will be the most important, and once the alpha beta is released, we'll test it. We'll be making what changes we can, and then from there, depending on how the support on the Patreon goes, the support on Phil's personal links go, then we'll have more. Basically, that is buying time for us to continue to work on these things. So, um, Phil, do you want to add anything else?
No, I think we covered everything.
Okay. All right. Well, Phil, I will. You feel free to sign off. I'm gonna hang out here for a little bit and show off some other things and answer some more questions. But appreciate you, man. All right. See you. Okay. Awesome. Thanks. Okay. That was pretty cool. I didn't even know that it could do a lot of those things that he showed off. So, any you guys, if I missed a question that you guys were wondering, feel free to let me know. Feel free to ask again, and I'll try to get to it. And then also, I'd like to show off some of the things that I'm working on with. Um, I'm going to show off some of the things that I'm working on with the Creators Kit and other stuff. So give me just 1 second, and I'll get that set up. And like anytime I move anything, everything sort of gets all walked out. So give me 1 second to see if I can figure out how to get things. Display capture. That's it. If I do this, can you guys see? Oh yeah, you guys can see it. Okay. Yeah, so here's the creator kit, and again, this is going to be free. So this is not some. This is just free for people in the community who want to make cool stuff. So again, I'm giving away as much stuff for free as I possibly can. The Foundry system would be compatible with the V1 hack rules. I don't know. I don't know much about Foundry. For the V1, you probably could just use like any 5e. So V1 is mostly 5e. So if you're using that, I would just use whatever 5e system you're using in Foundry or other VTT. But you can always just use something that is very hands off, just like a digital table, like Albell Rodeo, and just do things manually. So if you want to do it today, like you can just do that. But for the V1 rules, I'm not sure. I suppose you could, yeah. I suppose actually the Foundry module would work with the V1 rules. There might be some edge cases and things where you might have some questions, but it should work. No limit, huh? Add Tidebreaker Hunter the Reefs then. Centric, I don't know what that was in reference to, if you want to ask that again. My EA going to support monthly on Coffee. Ko-Fi, I don't know if it's Coffee or Ko-Fi. He's doing great work and really appreciate. Yes, he definitely is. He absolutely is. And again, I'm paying him, but if he were to charge me how much like a developer would if this was not also his hobby, it'd be much more expensive. And honestly, we just wouldn't be able to do it. So he's doing this because because it's fun and a hobby. You know, might be speaking for him a little bit too much, but as far as I understand, he is not charging nearly as much as a developer would charge if this was like if this was as much as they could. So I do want to encourage you guys to help support him if you can, if you find any value in the Foundry thing. And I'm not making any money on the Foundry module either. This is just something just so people can play the game easier. Did we talk about how much of the book's content is in the module and if there will be premium version, buy everything in it? So my understanding right now is that at base, the module is going to have like the rules and like the framework to add to things. That's actually a better question for Phil. I'm not sure. So I can tell you that like all of the items and like adventures and stuff will not be in it, at least not right away. That's something that might be added later as a purchasable thing, just because it takes a long time to set up to do all that stuff. So I want to be careful not to charge people twice for something that they've already paid for. But for the adventures and for some of the stuff to be in a module like that, that would have to be a paid for thing. So I'm not sure. Like I would hate for someone to I would hate for someone to like buy it once, and then have to like manually do a bunch of data entry, you know. So I'd like it to be as easy as possible. I'll say a goal rather than what we're, because I think that that's a little bit easier. Also, how do you want to handle Patreon content? I'm not sure. So a lot of this stuff is still very much up in the air. We're still sort of trying to figure out what exactly we're going to do with it. But wherever possible, I'm going to lean toward making it more available rather than less so. Maybe the Patreon content will like 6 months after something's been released on Patreon, it'll get uploaded to the wiki or something. I'm not sure. Because I do want to be careful not to step on the toes of people who have paid and who are supporting it. Because, you know, that can definitely feel bad as well. You pay for something, then other people, you know, quote unquote, get it for free. So yeah, you gotta thread the needle there a little bit, you know. Definitely gotta thread the needle there a little bit so that everybody's happy, or as many people as possible are happy. But yeah, the people on Patreon, they get access to all the beta stuff, all the stuff that I'm testing, and they can give me feedback and vote on what to do next and all that sort of stuff. So people on Patreon, they've had access to the witch class, the hex binder. They've had access to some new monsters and new art and other things that nobody else has seen yet. So if you guys want to do that, and it's if you want to support continued development, then that's where to go. I'm happy to pay to get it. Cool. Free for people who bought Nimble 2. Yes. So yeah. Yeah, I didn't think you'd put this much work into the Creators Kit, Evan, but super appreciate it. I didn't think I would put so much work into it, but I guess once I get started, I want to do a really, really good job rather than just sort of phone it in and sort of say good enough to just check the box. So I want it to be as useful as possible. I think something that auto converts existing Foundry modules to Nimble would be incredible selling point. That's beyond me. So as far as I know, so there's like $0 to be made in VTT stuff. So as far as much as I've heard, if your favorite RPG has any sort of VTT stuff, they're doing it as a service to the community and not because they're making any money on it. So all that kind of stuff, like it might be possible, but like the developers do need to eat food and live indoors and stuff too. Tiebreaker is just an old cut Boston video. Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll get him back in there eventually. Adventure Pass make a lot of sense as paid stuff. Cool. No problem. I'm happy to pay for it again. I just didn't view it as something I'd pay for because. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I wish everybody, Edward, was as generous as understanding as that. Um, we learned that Evan is hard to stop once he gets. Yeah, yeah. I will frequently wake up in the middle of the night with a bunch of ideas, and I just start working. Uh, Paizo sells token packs and adventure modules for Foundry. I mean, perhaps, yeah. So I just don't know as much about a lot of these the digital side of things. I play at a table with physical cubes of acrylic, you know. Okay, so let's look at. I'll show you guys a quick overview of the Creators Kit. Um, so in the very beginning, hey, these are guidelines. So these are guidelines to make things that are in tune with the spirit of the game. This is, think of it as a launch pad rather than a rule book, carved in stone. Once you have a handle on what makes Nimble tick, you can run with it, right? You don't. This isn't like this isn't paint by numbers. This isn't like follow these steps and you'll get there. It's it still takes a lot of creativity, but these are sort of the guardrails. This is the territory that we're working with. Here's some of the tools, that sort of thing. But once you start breaking the rules, that's where it gets fun. But you can only break them if you understand them. You can only break them in a fun way, usually, if you understand things best. All right. So the first section is sort of like the overarching principles of Nimble, the design principles. Number one is avoiding fiddliness because clunky, overly complex, tedious mechanical overhead that slows down play and distracts from the core fun. So there's a board game that I really really enjoyed called Gloomhaven, and you can play it solo. And I was playing this solo, but to do every little thing and there was a board game, like I said, to do every little thing this board game took physically forever. Like not literally forever, but to do these things physically, it took so long that like after a while I was just like, I want to play more, but every little step that I take it just takes so long that I have to like move and fiddle with these, cards and tokens and things. And like there was just a lot of stuff in the way of the fun part of the game. It was a really fun game. Um, well balanced, a lot of creativity, like cool kind of hack and slash adventure game. But because there was so many things that had to take place, and I wasn't waiting on anybody else, so that this wasn't like other people are too slow. It's that the rules in the game were just set up such that in order to do anything, it just took a long time. Okay, so I could have like 20 minutes of fun, but 20 minutes of fun would take 2 hours. Okay, maybe exaggerating a little bit. I'm not sure. It's been quite a while since I've since I played the game. So the first core concept is, can I do this in fewer steps? A single in-game action should typically take only one real-world action to resolve. Fight the urge to add steps, so like saves, extra dice, etc., wherever possible. You can also ask if the effect can simply happen automatically, or maybe when something else does, it's triggered by something else. Okay, so a really good example of this is since we were sort of starting with a 5e framework, the Bard spell, Vicious Mockery. I believe in 5e it was a save. So you say, okay, you tell someone to make some intelligence save or Christmas save, I forget what. They make it, they add a thing, they tell you, and then okay, the GM tells me the number after they've taken a couple of steps, and then I check my character sheet. Oh, they fail, and then I get to roll, and then something happens. So like that's like 5 or 6 or like 8 steps if you count them all to just do like one thing, right? So initially, Vicious Mockery in Nimble was basically the same thing, like translated a little bit, but essentially the same thing. What we ended up doing was it's just roll a d4. If you hit, it happens, right? So we're taking the hit roll, the damage roll, the save, whether or not it crits, whether or not it misses. Like, so we're taking all of that, and it's just one action. Roll 1d4, right? So ask, can I do it in fewer steps, or can this just happen automatically? So The next attack that guy gets is with disadvantage. Okay, and it ended up being the next that person is taunted because that's sort of like a little bit more flavorful and a little bit better balanced, that sort of thing. So it's important to note that how long an action takes to resolve is not about being in a hurry. And I'm not going to read through this whole thing. I'm just sort of giving you some of the initial principles, and we can sort of scan through it real quick. But we're up to like 15 pages already, and it's probably going to be closer to like 18, 19, 20 pages maybe once it's all said and done. At least the first draft. We'll probably add to it in the future. But when we start talking like this in game design, the first question a lot of people will have is, well, why are you so concerned about being in such a hurry all the time? So a lot of people will say that kind of thing, sort of misunderstanding the point. So sometimes, like in some of the YouTube videos that I put up, like, hey, 5e combat takes so long. Here's something you do to speed it up. And most people are like, wow, this is great. I love it. They see the problem, they see that's a solution. But some people will say, like, why are you in such a hurry all the time? Like, why are you trying to eliminate all the fun? It's sort of misunderstanding like what makes 5e or what makes RPGs fun versus like being in a hurry and like all of this sort of stuff. So like, no, being in a hurry isn't particularly fun. So how long an action takes to resolve is not about being in a hurry. It's about concentrating on the fun. Okay. It's about concentrating on the fun. So fiddly mechanics dilute the fun, spreading the same amount of fun over a long period of time. So like that board game that I was talking about, Gloomhaven, it was like 20 minutes of fun, 30 minutes of like actual fun, but it took an hour or 2 hours to perform to get 30 minutes of fun. So think of movies, think of any kind of like highly concentrated fun activity. If movies started adding a bunch of scenes where nothing was happening, the plot wasn't moving forward, like fewer people would go to the movies. Like there would be a small minority of people who would really like that. But most people, when it shows the hero like brushing his teeth and then flossing and then combing his hair and then tying his shoes and then deciding which socks to wear, like all that, like it's not, it's important, right? But it's not that's not why we're playing. We're not playing for that kind of thing. Okay, so can I do this in fewer steps? So can I make the calculations easier? Okay, so like 17 plus 12, like that's not super hard. Most of us could do that in our heads. It would take a beat or two to do that kind of thing in our head. So math is tied to TTRPGs. It's part of the fun, but we should, in principle, avoid anything but the simplest, quickest calculations that can be done in one's head. So like 17 plus 12, 13 plus 9, like these kinds of things, like again, they're not hard, but if you have to do 10 or 20 of these over the course of a night, it wears you down mentally. You're less sharp, and it does spend some energy. It's like 2 plus 2, 3 plus 1, like those are much easier to calculate and perform without really a thought, without skipping a beat. Same with like rolling a bunch of dice. Okay. So even very simple calculations, when there's a lot of them, they can grind play down to a halt and kill momentum. So that this is a really important thing. Big, stressful, cool, heroic moment. I wonder what happens. Da-da, you roll dice, and then like bam, everybody knows like momentum is maintained and accelerated, and like there's this huge payoff, and everybody's having fun, right? But if it's big, stressful, heroic moment. I wonder what's going to happen. Okay, let me find 7d4, and I only have 4. Can I borrow your dice? And then, oh, no, that's a D. I've got the wrong one. And I roll them. Oh, and one fell off the table, and then this one laying cocked. And then, like, this cool, big, heroic moment, and it just sort of starts to peter out. And then, like, oh, we succeeded. You're like, okay. We missed the momentum, right? So, can we make all of these kinds of things easier? You got to play Gloomhaven on Table Simulator. I can't imagine playing. Yeah. If I had time to do that kind of thing, I would, but I don't have time to do all the things that I'm already doing. But yeah, point well taken. I sort of love the physicality of playing things at the table rather than just like clicking on a computer. I love the physicality of like reading a book rather than like reading on a screen. So we should avoid rolling and summing too many dice at a time. Summing at most 3 or 4 smaller dice or 2 or 3 larger dice is a good rule of thumb. More than that, players will often have to hunt for extra dice, like I said. They're going to roll them, increase the odds that one lands cocked or rolls off the table, and just little things that add up to eat up a lot of time. So rolling lots of dice is fun sometimes. Okay, so we've talked about that before. So um, one important thing that a lot of people don't really think of is lots of dice eliminates variability, right? So rolling 1d20 is like a huge swingy thing and like can be really exciting because like it could be a 1, it could be a 3, it could be a 19 or 20, right? Um, but if you roll 2d20, all of a sudden now you have a bell curve, and like that's pretty pleasing. So like you're most likely to get something toward the average of the two. And if you're rolling like 5,000 d20, you're almost certainly going to get something like perfectly average. So the more dice that you roll, the more likely you are to get an average result. So rather than rolling 5d6 or 10d6, just say 20, just say 30. Like just pick a number, right? Um, so rather than like being more exciting and more variable and like more like it actually does the opposite of what a lot of people would think. And also, where possible, think of creative solutions to more quickly generate high numbers. Dice are not the only way to generate numbers. So again, just like good advice, I think, on avoiding fiddliness. Making Nimble continue to feel nimble. Build mechanics where players can immediately see the result rather than find the result. So like rolling 2d20 or like rolling a d20 with advantage, where you just roll 2 and you just look at which one is higher, is much easier than summing like 2d10, for instance. So if you can just like roll 2 dice, I got an 18 and a 15, 18, like I can see the result immediately. That is much more preferable to like rolling 2 dice and then adding them up, two smaller dice and adding them up, because it's quicker. Everybody knows what the answer is right away. Avoid dividing by anything other than like 1/2, and even that, like avoid that. Avoid multiplying difficult numbers, like doubling something is generally easy. Multiplying by 13, a little bit harder. That sort of thing. Maintain the flow. So we'll skip ahead just a little bit. Maintain the flow. So play proceeds most quickly when each player can take their turn without interruption and without waiting on anyone else. This is flow, okay? Actions that interrupt the flow should ideally be both important and rare. Okay, so failing that, they should at least happen asynchronously, so without making anybody else wait on you. So important. A great example is like interposing for a dying ally. So like this guy gets attacked and he says, "Oh no, I'm dying." Um, that is both important and likely to happen only on rare occasions. So like someone coming in and interposing, no, instead of you dying, you get back up. I'm going to push you out of the way and like jump in front of the arrow or whatever. Like that is both heroic and cool and important and rare. So like that is okay if you interrupt the GM's turn, the monsters, by doing this. Like everybody's going to cheer and it's going to be a great thing. Asynchronous reactions like defend is not particularly important, and it's relatively common. Okay, they interrupt the flow. They happen commonly, relatively low impact. Like whether you take like 7 damage or 3 damage, low impact. Like it's not nothing, but it's relatively low impact. The saving grace is that it happens asynchronously, off turn. So a hero can choose. So like I'm the GM. This goblin attacks you. This goblin attacks that guy. This goblin attacks that guy. Whether like this guy or this guy or this guy, whether they defend or not, like I don't care. Like as a GM, like you take 7 damage, you take 3 damage. The attack missed you. These two guys, they can defend. They can take the damage. I don't care. I'm just taking my turn. If my goblin dealt 7 damage and he doesn't block it, he just subtracts 7 from his hit points. If he does block it, he subtracts 2 from his hit points instead, right? So things like that, it happens off turn, or it happens asynchronously. I don't have to wait on them. They don't have to wait on me. Like it maintains the flow, right? So any fiddliness especially if it disrupts the flow, should happen off turn whenever possible. So, like the Oathsworn's Judgment dice and Berserker's That All You Got. Those dice are rolled or expended when it's not their turn. Again, so if I'm attacking one of them, I don't care what they're doing. They can roll their dice and do the things because it's my turn. They're doing their things and nobody else is waiting on them. Okay, so maintaining the flow, any kind of character features that you have should maintain the flow. The worst offender for breaking the flow is any mechanic, and this is something that should be avoided at all costs. And this is sort of like the central mechanic of fantasy D20 older D20 games. Any mechanic that requires information from another player before proceeding. It's like rolling to hit versus AC, rolling initiative, saving throws. Those things take so long that I'll leave it at that. Avoid those whenever possible. They're common. They happen for every attack. They're low impact. It wouldn't be game breaking if the GM just said, "Just you go first." And it completely halts play for everyone until all of the steps for everybody has completely been resolved, right? So until I roll initiative for all the monsters, or just give them initiative, until everybody else rolls initiative, like nobody can start. So like even if I rolled a natural 20 on initiative, like I still can't take my turn until the slowest person does everything. And then they tell the GM, and the GM writes it down, or however it's managed. So avoid back and forth informational mechanics like the plague. All right. So again, I'm not going to read through all of this. So there's examples of old spells, how they initially were, how they ended up, so that people can so you guys can see exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about. We go into conditions, class framework, resting. So we get into a lot of different things, designing monsters. So we're getting into a lot of different cool things that I think will be super duper helpful for people as they're making content. And again, this is going to be for free up on the website, nimblerpg.com/creators, I think is the URL. But anyway, that's what I'm working on. If you guys have any thoughts, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'll be sending a draft of this out, I think, to the people on Patreon first. And then everybody else will get it a little bit later. And then I'm also I'm at the same time working on I'm getting a bunch of new art. I'm working on any rough ETA for the kit. Patreon might get it this week. Everybody else sometime thereafter. So I'm working on getting new art. I'm working on making a bunch of new monsters. I think I'm gonna do like a semi-regular cadence of monsters while some of the work on the classes are being done. So we're trying to get some people to help play test the Hexbinder class, so we can move that from the beta 1.0 version to be a little bit further along. So if anybody's interested in helping to do some playtesting of that, please let me know. We're going to be doing that in the coming days. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. Any thoughts, any questions before we wrap it up? Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'm continuing to here's troglodytes. If you guys haven't seen that, got some really cool. And I added like a little bit of a film grain effect to the image too, to sort of make it like feel like it was a really low light type of thing. So I released some new troglodyte monsters, which I think turned out really cool. If I'm being honest, like I've never cared for troglodytes in the past, but I'm actually pretty excited to run these because they feel super different. So I'm going to be continuing to release things there. Where did the trogs come from? In a good way. So I had the art. So this is a piece by Earl Land. So a lot of times I will design around like whatever art that I have. So I was going to do orcs, but as the next monster group, but I didn't have any good art for orcs yet. So I'm working on getting that. But I was like, ooh, yeah, I forgot about this cool piece of art. Why not design some troglodytes? So that's where it came from, in a good way, yeah. So I'm a very visual person. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. And I will be in touch with you guys later. See ya.